Again, I'm using my laptop. I still haven't gotten a cam. I went shopping yesterday and they didn't really have any options at Best Buy, which is surprising. Actually, stock was real low there. But figure we'll talk some about the Lydian scale. I had to take down that video. I'll wait until everybody's here before I go to. So I may jam a little bit while we get going here. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Live. Click on this. Burp, mute. All right. Yeah. Still doing the laptop. I had to hook up the power too because I guess I left it unplugged in last night. So let's see. Oh, it's reversing, isn't it? Is it reversing? Oh no, it's just mirroring here. Okay. So you guys don't get it reversed. Hey Bruce. Hey Izzy, Mamba, what's going on? Holly, how you doing up there? You still have power up there, Holly? I heard that they shut off power because of 20,000 homes or something because of the fire in Yosemite. I think I'm in tune. Come on. I hit it when metronome, tune in is very important. You'll see in sessions, guitar players tune in between every take. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to cover. I'm just going to cover up the video of this. I can see your, oh, you know what? I won't be able to do that. Dang it, because I think I'm going to type in here. So, but we're going to talk about the Lydian scale. I'll try not to let that be too distracting because I can't read the laptop. It's too small. Plus, it's all the way up here, and I can't type into it. So I've got it open on the big screen, but the problem is the image is the opposite direction, and it's delayed. So I'm like, So hey, Jack Lloyd, good to see you. Just waiting for a few people to show up. Hey. Romero, good to see you. I haven't been in a while. Okay. For some reason, I don't recognize, but yeah, that's right. You have solar now. Do you have batteries too? I mean, how we get power is almost irrelevant to how we store power, because that's, you'll find like in South Africa now, I think it's 6 hours a day you don't have power, and it alternates days and regions and times, and you can't predict it because they don't have power when they need it. And that's why having a battery is helpful, because you can store power, because like you don't have your lights on during the day, you have your lights on at night, but there's no sun during the day. So I'm assuming you have a battery that stores the energy you collect during the day. 2 power walls. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. And you have a generator too, I think, if you really need it. Because if you have fires, then you don't have sun because of the smoke. Anybody see that windmill fire? The windmill that got struck by lightning? That was amazing. It created this circle plume of smoke, like this spiral of smoke, and eventually, of course, it melted and just kind of, it was amazing. Yeah, so I almost didn't log in today. I was like, well, I woke up and I was like, oh shoot. Totally forgot. So what I thought I might do, in fact, I'm going to jam a little bit right now using the Lydian scale over this Lydian progression. Let me just so I've got, let's see, bass line. It's just, yeah, it's just a A. And I go up to a fifth. Okay, that. And then there's a pad. I put a pad. A pad is a keyboard sound that's just kind of generally is a sustaining sound. When you play it, like when I play it, like my keyboard here. I kind of try to get a warm sound. I could even make it warmer. I put a little EQ on it and I roll the top off to get rid of the top. If I turn off the EQ, where's it? There it is. But that's a little bit on the, that's cool. It's very 80s sounding. But it's a little bit on the distracting side. So what I did was I put an equalizer on it and I just roll off the top, and it makes it very warm sounding. It's simple as that. I don't, if I can use an EQ to change the sound of what I want, it's a lot easier than going into the synthesizer and editing the synthesizer for that. But the notes that are there, let me pull those up. Let's see. It's almost like a cluster of scale tones. If I pull up, there's so there's an A on the bottom, an A, a B, a C sharp, a D sharp, and then I put a G sharp in there. So it's basically should have sound. Oh no, I gotta be on the track. Not that one. Oh, it was loading. Did I say E in there? No. So the voicing I'm using there. So I put an A in it. That was kind of unnecessary. I could move that A down to like a G sharp. But those are the pitches I'm using. And so it's A, B, C sharp, D sharp, which is the Lydian tone, and then the major seventh. Now, if you do a dominant seventh, that's is that a Lydian dominant scale? Is it obvious as that? And that would be a good scale to use like in an altered jazz kind of context. Let me change tones though. Get rid of the rock thing because I'll use the rock thing some, but I can. Interesting, they don't have a jazz in this one. Let me change plugins. So yeah, so this is Guitar Rig 6. I'm going to go to Guitar Rig 5. They're both kind of their own animals. And I've got, I kind of know Guitar Rig 5 a little bit better. Okay, jazz, here we go. Mellow Tweed, Fields of Scott. What's that song? No, absolutely not. Pat's 70, yeah. Yeah. I want something a little bit more. I don't know. This is what I spend most of my day doing, finding sounds. The playing is easy, even on keyboard. It's like that takes me one minute. It takes me 20 minutes to find the sound I want. But I'll basically take a sound like, let's see, what's this jazz sound like? I mean, that's fine. I'm on my neck pickup. I'll add a little reverb to it. That always kind of softens things up. So again, I like Valhalla reverbs, and there's a bunch of different ones. I'm not sure if you're going to get the vintage verb. And then maybe the second one will be the plate. They have some weird things, or they're only $50 each, which is a pretty good deal for a. Sorry, you're asking me questions and stuff. Oh, 76. Yeah, it was 65 when I got up this morning. Very nice. Yeah. Turn down. I'm going to edit. I'm going to work on the tone a little bit. I forgot what I was talking about. Okay. I'm going to show you some kind of tricks. It's a little bright. Darken it up here. Is that too loud? Is that distorting on your end? All right. I can bring it down a little bit. You can bring it down a lot. It doesn't really matter. Okay. Sorry, I'm not paying attention here. You guys have been chatting away, you probably have me muted. You probably don't know what I'm saying right now. So I'm going to give away all my guitars to Alex. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Bruce. Let me pin that Discord link here. Pin message. Okay, I pinned that Discord link. So it's up there. You want to join the Discord group. Just a good group of people. Okay, thanks, Bruce, for doing all that paperwork. I had to delete last week's video because 6 of the songs that I played, I knew that was going to happen. I'd never done that kind of video before, and that's what Rick Beato deals with all the time. So he's kind of learned who he can. I don't know which one of the 6 got it banned in the US, but the problem is I can't control how many commercials there are. So they could put 500 commercials in a 15-minute video if they want, because everybody's got a stake. And I'm just like, it's so frustrating. I mean, I would love to do completely back to normal. Oh, good, John, your thumb's back to normal. Yay. Yeah, you missed a few things. You didn't miss that much, John. Good to see you, though. But yeah, I had to delete. I just went ahead and deleted it because if it's not going to air in the US and I can't see it, I couldn't even see it in the YouTube context so I could see how many ads there were. And it wouldn't let me see the ad placement. Like I couldn't control that or anything. It basically, the window for monetization was completely locked out for me. So I just deleted the video. I said, forget it. I'm not going to, if these record labels don't want me promoting their music for free to my 100,000 subscribers, then that's fine. That's on them. It's really now I did still get to keep the money that you guys gave me, which was nice. Because I wasn't sure about that when I didn't monetize the video. If the money where does that go? Well, that does go. So, and I think that's why so many people do so many live streams, because you'll watch them and they'll just be, while they're talking, they'll be raking in the coin. And so that's not so much the case here. Yeah, 100 degrees is pretty brutal when you're in a place that's normally pretty humid, like England. I remember in Indiana when I was in high school, it would hit 100 and I would play tennis and it would be like 95% humidity. And I mean, I loved it because I would be sweating. And so it was, I remember going to Curacao in the spring and it was really hot because it's on the equator. And I got the worst sunburn I'd ever had because my mom probably put suntan oil on me. They didn't really have sunscreen back then. That wasn't a thing. So, okay. So let's talk about this Lydian scale. So the notes in an A major scale, and I could change this all to C, but I'm going to make all the videos I do on these 12 scales. I'm going to make them all A-centric. So they're all going to start on an A note. And so I'm starting on the A note on the bottom string at the 5th fret, okay? And you can put your second finger there. And then you're going to play the 7th fret with your pinky, A, B. And then A major has a C sharp in it, okay? So we need a whole step and another whole step. So there's a C sharp there at the 9th fret, or we can play it here at the 4th fret, which is much more convenient. Okay? And then a normal A scale would go to a D note right there at the 5th fret on the 5th string. And I'm using my second finger. I won't isolate it. Okay, but that's not Lydian. But let's go ahead and play major all the way to the E. And there's the E. And this is the video I did that dropped this week. I talked about this. I show you how to play this scale. I'll post a link later. But basically, yeah, it's so that's a major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. Right? Oh, I'm going to get a copyright strike for that, aren't I? So now I'm all paranoid. So what you have is what's called a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're just going to call that the first 5 notes, the first 5 degrees of the A major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you want to think of it in those terms, then it makes it real simple to go, okay, all we need is a sharp 4. That's the only thing we're changing. So we're going to take that D natural and we're going to go to D sharp. And it creates this kind of a little bit more, especially oftentimes that Lydian thing is used as you delay it. You sit on it, that D sharp for a second and then resolve it. It wants to resolve to that E. Coming down. You got that open A string, you can hit that and play some Lydian notes on top of it if you want. It's a very oud type thing to do. And you can hear how it's kind of haunting. It's got its own personality. It's got its own mysterious, kind of a mysterious, I want to say mystery and mysterious at the same time, kind of tonality, which is, again, any kind of tonality or scale that makes for an emotion is great for film scores. They use it all the time. They use scales to create emotions. Different keys create different emotions. Okay, so so now if I'm going to continue the A mixolydian in this position, I'm going to go A here and then B. Okay, I'm using my pinky on the 7th fret, and then C sharp on the 4th fret of the 5th string, then D sharp on the 6th fret of the A string there, and then pinky. All right, again, play those first 5. And you can definitely hear the difference between that. And again, we want to think of this as an A Lydian scale, not an E scale starting on A, because you want to think of it as an A-centric scale. You want to kind of go, okay, we're ultimately going to go, it's going to end on an A chord. We're going to do that. We're not going to end on an E chord. Then it becomes the key of E. And I use that as an example in my video where if I think E, then I'm going to do eccentric licks, I'm not really going to highlight the whole Lydianness of it all. So that's why you want to think of it as its own scale. I'll show you like a real easy way to come up with a good Lydian progression is just take an A chord, like an A triad on top here. So top 2 strings, 5th fret, okay, then 4th fret and 3rd fret. So you just make it a little like F chord up here at the 5th fret, and then play the A string open. So if you want to jam on this with somebody, then just slide it up 2 frets and make a B over A. That's a very Lydian sounding progression. You can even do it with an A chord like this, right? It's really cool when you get to, you can really hear that Lydian. Because I'm all about the putting it into use. When I teach you something, I want you to use it. I want you to find some use for it or just have some fun. It's just fun to solo using, practice or jam using things other than major scales or minor blues scales, right? This is not blues. So all I'm doing is taking an A chord, going up 2 frets, and you get that D sharp against that E rub. That's a beautiful minor 2nd thing. Hey, Lena, what's going on? So Lena, I'm just taking an A chord and then playing a B over A to create an A Lydian sound. I could have done it with this jam track, but instead I went, whoops, let's see what I got to click here. All right, so let's get the rest of the way through this scale if we can. So we have 2nd finger, so 5, 7, 4, 6, 7, and then we're going to go 4, 6, 7 again. So it kind of creates a little cluster here. It's very comfortable once you get it down. I know it's using your pinky, but so you go index, ring, and then pinky. Okay. And then we're going to continue on 4th fret, 6th fret, and then we have another little cluster of the same shape twice. We got 4, 5, 7, and 4, 5, 7. So you could just sit there. You can just think of these 6 notes and solo using those 6. Watch. Okay, and I'll use the other cluster, the lower one, where it's 4, 6, 7 on the 4th string and then 5th string. Yeah, I said, John, I wouldn't think E if you can help it. The E's are not the tonal centers. The A's are the tonal centers. It's an A Lydian scale. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, you can think of it that way. Again, as far as like finding it, but once you're in the neighborhood, don't think of it as an E scale. Think of it as an A Lydian scale. It's a very subtle change. It doesn't requires one brain cell to make that transition. Okay. So you think, but it's easier to think of it as E. It's not. Ultimately, it's not easier to think of it as an E major scale. So you really do, even though you're like, if I play an E major scale, the problem is you'll start thinking E licks, and you don't want to do that, or E shapes. I'm going to show you some kind of cool cheats we can do, that help you create phrases and lines that are almost more interesting than just pure diatonic scales. Because the temptation when you have a diatonic scale, just like what I was doing there, was pretty much just to play seconds all day long. You know, going. I mean, there's no interesting intervals there. You're just kind of almost sounds like exercises. So. And I'm thinking more individual notes than I am thinking shapes. Like you saw me do this. You know, I'm not thinking A major 7 so much as I'm thinking, let me play some of these notes and try to put some instead of playing D sharp to E, play D sharp to G sharp. You know, instead of playing a second, a minor second or a major second, play a fourth. Okay, now, so I'm going to show you, I can do this. Yeah, I'm going to show you a kind of a cool cheat. Okay, so play A minor pentatonic. Okay, we learned this a long time ago, but it's starting on the 5th fret. And then we're going to play the 8th fret, 5, 8, and then 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. I'm using my pinky, my first and pinky. Hey, Josh, how's it going? AJ, hey, Sam. Yeah, but that's also Lydian. That's A Lydian, not E major. If I wanted to do that in E, I would have put E in the bass. And then we would play an E, but that's a whole different sound. That's a completely different emotional set. Just all the A triads, A's and B's. I mean, how many times have you heard that in like a soundtrack right there? Just that. Nothing E about that. There's not a single thing in that sounds like an E major scale to me. So I wouldn't even think about it that way. Yeah. Oh, Barry's looking up songs that are in Lydian keys. Yeah, the Simpsons theme is definitely. But like I think the entirety of West Side Story is in the Lydian key. I could be wrong, but someone told me he wrote that whole score in A Lydian or something. So, Leonard Bernstein. I've actually been commissioned to write pieces in different modes for classical guitarists, and I wrote a piece in A Lydian. Just again, part of it is for the lesson of learning a Lydian scale, but the other thing is about training your ear to hear Lydian scenarios or situations. And you know, now that you've even just heard this, you'll probably notice it in scores and in TV shows and movies or whatever. So if I okay, so the cheat. Okay, I was showing you the A minor pentatonic, right? You know that one. If you don't know it, again, I'm using first finger, then fourth finger, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. And I'm talking about my fingers there, and it's starting at the 5th fret. Well, what's crazy is if you just move it down, so that won't work over this. I mean, the A and the E work. The C doesn't work. The D doesn't work for sure. The G doesn't work. So only 2 of the 5 notes works. Remember, pentatonic scale has 5 notes. However, if I move that scale down 1 fret, now instead of playing A, C, D, E, G, A, again, the only notes in the A minor pentatonic that work over A Lydian are the A and the E. If I move the whole thing down 1 fret, so now I'm at the 4th fret, I'm still playing 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. Or if you want to think of it as fret-wise, 4, 7, 4, 6, 4, 6, 4, 6, 4, 6. Okay, now we're playing every note in the Lydian scale except the A and the E. Well, it's like the bass player is playing the A, so we don't really need to touch on the A. The E is a nice note to kind of go to because that D sharp wants to. wants to resolve. But check it out. I'm just going to play this A minor pentatonic. I may start going up the fretboard though. But it's the thing is it's taking knowledge that you already have and reassigning it, reapplying it, rejigging it in a very simple way of just moving it, not even changing any fingers, just moving the whole thing around to create a completely different sound. And I could do that pentatonic scale in 3 different places. This is true of every pentatonic scale over any diatonic scale, but I could do that particular pentatonic shape there, and that's going to create the super duper Lydian sound. I could also play it up here in E, or up at the 9th fret, and it's going to be, you can think of it as E major, but it's not. It's because we got that, we're playing over an A chord, but there's no Lydian in this one. There's no D sharp in this one. Or I could play in just a kind of a pure A major pentatonic. But that one's going to be kind of boring, you know. If you go up to the 9th fret, now there's no A in here. It's a little more interesting sound. But all of your licks over that scale all work in the new position over that progression. Now, where it gets really interesting is if I play that same scale at the 4th fret. Yeah, so there's all sorts of interesting things you can do. But all I did was went up the 5 pentatonic shapes. So number 1, oops, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So the more, you know, the one of the first things you learn as a guitar player is the minor pentatonic shapes. And so to be able to repurpose them to get a completely different sound than your typical A minor pentatonic or a minor pentatonic is just a great simple way of expanding your ability and your tone palette. So take care, Sam. Sam's already gone. Hey, Timothy, what's going on? Wendy, what's going on? Long time. Oh, your phone is dead. I didn't realize humidity affected cell towers. It's interesting. I'll tell you, we have the ugliest cell towers in LA. You know, they try to make them look like fake palm trees. I'm like, I'm fine with a cell tower. Just make it look like a cell tower. Why are you trying to hide it and make it look like a palm tree? Or what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen a cell tower disguised as? That's an ask you anything. Oh, look, my coffee's always in there. I didn't see that. I still haven't gotten a webcam, so I'm sorry about this. Like, the white balance is awful on this camera. I've never used the camera on this laptop before, so I didn't have any idea that the white balance would be so bad. It might be something I can adjust, but it looks awful. It's not what my room looks like. I'm not really this yellow. So yeah, so again, all I'm doing is I'm taking a basic minor pentatonic, like our A minor pentatonic, moving it down one fret, and all of a sudden it's magic. And so the notes that we're getting in that Lydian scale here, let me type it in real quick. A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. All right. And so the notes we're getting, remember I told you on the A minor pentatonic, the only two notes that worked of the 5 were the A and the E. Well, those are the only two notes in this scale that are not, because remember, diatonic scale is 7 notes. So we're playing a pentatonic scale over a diatonic scale. So we're eliminating 2 notes. And the 2 notes we just happen to eliminate are the root and the 5th, which is totally fine. But I'll show you. So what's happening is we're playing it. I'm going to go back to jazz tone here. So not so buzzy. Oh. All right. So we have G sharp, which is the 7th on that scale. And then we go to the B, and then we have the C sharp, and then the D sharp, and then the F sharp, and then G sharp again. So we have the 7th, the 2nd, the 3rd, the sharp 4, the 6th, the 7th. I mean, all those are great tones, to play over that. And if you want, you can play just the top 4 strings of that pentatonic shape and play the A string with it. So if you don't have anyone to jam with, you can. But at any moment, if you want to add that E in there or that A, you could do that, or up to the. To me, that the E is almost more valuable, creates a little bit more resolution, because the A is going to be dominant anyway in the underpinning and the root. Take care, Sam. I can even play a G sharp minor chord over the A, and that's basically kind of an A Lydian chord. You could even just call it A Lydian. I could even just bar the top 4 strings at the 4th fret, and that's it's basically just a B chord moved up with a G sharp on top. I mean, that just going back and forth between that, the 2nd fret, and the 4th fret is very Lydian sound. I mean, everything sounds like a soundtrack to me when I do that. I was just doing kind of a pedal thing there. Oh, besides the A and the B, you could play C sharp minor. The chords in the scale, you could play E, you could play F sharp minor and G sharp minor. And A. So F sharp minor, G sharp minor over A. Just play them all over A. beautiful sound. Sorry, I'm just pulling up a nice, like, swell sound. What's going on here? Oh, weird. I'm getting. There we go. Yeah, let me go with the Holdsworth swell. Let's see, where's the Holdsworth? There it is. Yeah, this is better. Yeah, like you could do F minor 7, like over A. You do G sharp minor 7 over A. Would be like you could do E major 7 over A. You could do C sharp minor 7, B7, A major. So we're talking about 7th chords. Yeah, exactly. A resolve to A, yeah, or just keep an A in the pedal. Being the pedal means down low. In the key, like in this case, I'm just playing the open A string. So pretty. Yeah. So basically all I'm doing, like that sound, a lot of delay and reverb, but I'm pedaling in. So I play the chord first. I got my volume pedal off. So like, for example, if I just play like, this G sharp minor over A. Okay, if I pedal in, like if I strum it with the volume off, you don't hear the pluck. So it doesn't sound like a guitar. It sounds like a synthesizer. And then I'm moving the tremolo because that allows the pitch to modulate against itself in the delays. Yeah, I've got a million of these. What's this one? This one's cool. Oh no, it's all in the computer, Timothy. Yeah, that's all Logic and different effects settings. What's this one? This is a new one. I can't remember what this one sounds like. Again, if I didn't pedal it in, it's a very busy sound. but pedaling it in gives it a really cool effect. Yeah, so I'm using Logic, and that's basically a guitar rig, and that what was that? That last one, it's still going. That's guitar rig, Valhalla reverb, and Native Instruments phase shifter thing. So yeah, and a volume pedal. That's the only thing. Volume pedal. I have a compressor that I use going into my DI, but I have an API 512C. So that's actually they're making a pedal of that, which is interesting. But API, it's a mic pre 512C. It's a pretty standard. Every studio has these, and so I just bought one, 500 series, which is this rack mount. I don't have a lot of. I only have 2 inputs in my setup, so you can see right there. That's the 512 right there, and then this is a Neve, and that's what I use. The Neve I use for my acoustic guitars. So my microphone goes to the Neve. Yeah, so it's good to have a mic pre, but for years I did sessions before I had mic pre's. So you don't have to have mic pre's if you have an interface. The interface will have some kind of like microphone in it. Kind of a preamp in it, built in. But as you up your game, that's one of the things you get, because those are about $1,000 a pop. So it's not cheap to kind of get, and you can get cheaper ones. And they can be addictive. I have friends that have racks and racks and racks of 500 series preamps and compressors. And again, I'm going through a compressor on the floor. I also have a wah pedal down here, but I'm not going through it right now. But a wah is something I really can't do in a box. I could use a controller to control a wah. I probably should try to set up something like that. I've never done that. There's probably a USB wah pedal or something I could hook in. I haven't seen one, but that might be kind of cool. And then I could do it all in the box. Yeah, so I have a volume pedal on the outside. That's really all I'm going through. I have tons of pedals. I just don't do the pedal board thing. You just bought Scuffum S-Gear amp simulator and Focus Solo. Yeah, Focusrite's good stuff too. The interfaces. Oh, you got see the the interface. So you have a Focus Solo interface. So that's one channel. Is that right? Which I could totally get away with one channel. I used to need 2 channels because my guitar rig, my external guitar rig is stereo, and I was using that originally when I started doing computer stuff. And but it's just nice not having to unplug stuff and plug stuff back in when I'm going between an electric and an acoustic, because oftentimes in the same project I'll be doing acoustic stuff and I'll do electric stuff. Almost every project is like that. So this way I just have 2 channels. One's dedicated to the acoustic guitar. One's channel 1 is the mic and channel 2 is the direct electric. Does that make sense? Internet gremlins. Uh-oh. Mamba has got a lag, but yeah, and the volume pedal I'm using is the Boss pedal, the Boss volume. Yeah, it's stinking bulletproof. I used to use Ernie Balls, and I just loved Ernie Ball pedals, and I just kept breaking them. It's a string, that's wrapped around a pot, and so the string would break all the time. I'm like, no, and then they fix it, but you have to send it to them. It's like, no, I'm not. I got tired of it. So Alex hit me to the Boss pedal, and it's in my opinion just bulletproof. I need something that's just going to work when I need it to work. So I'm going to turn down a little bit. Now I'll show you. Check this out. If we play that A Lydian scale, did we go all the way to the top? I don't remember. Let's just go through it again. I don't think we ever got all the way to the top. Okay. We did, because I talked about the little clusters. So again, we're going to go second finger on the 5th fret, second. So 7th fret, 4th fret, 6, 7, 4, 6, 7, 4, 6, and then 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7. If you want to resolve on the A, you go there. Now, a cool scale to use in kind of a jazz context, and I could change my chord. It's kind of cheating. Where's the... That's a weird chord. But basically what yeah. But a lot of times if you're playing over like a jazz chord, like a A7 with a flat 5, okay, be 5th fret, nothing, 5th fret, 6th fret, and then 4th fret. That would often go to like a D major 7 or something like that. You might do this, what's called I think it's called a Lydian dominant scale. You could also call it a Lydian scale with a raised 4, or you could call it a Lydian scale with a flatted 7. Okay, it's the two ways to kind of think of it. So if I take my Lydian scale, and when I get to 7, I go flat, then I get this kind of interesting. Some people call it, I don't think it's the Bebop scale, but no, the Bebop scale is, what is it? That's the Bebop scale. I'll show you that in a second. I didn't do that in my favorite scales. I use the Bebop scale without knowing I'm using it. It's one of those scales that you just kind of accidentally use. And then you go, oh, somebody comes along and says, oh, you played the Bebop scale there. And you're like, I did. So, but it's a weird scale. This one's not one that, it's good to practice it because it feels, it has a lot of weird little nooks and crannies in it. It has a kind of a Middle Eastern sound too. But all I'm doing is I'm taking those G sharps down to G natural. So I'm playing A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, and G natural instead of G major. That sounds like bolero. Nope. It's very whole tone-y sounding too. Whole tone is just whole steps. So if you want to finish it like that, you would finish it out that way. But it's but the middle, you like starting on the A all the way up to the, starting on the G all the way up to the D sharp, it's whole tone scale. Okay. You want to create a dream sequence, you just use whole tone scale. You put that over A. Just keep doing like. Make any scales you want, any chords you want. It just sounds very dream. Again, it's an example of a scale having now, and that's the funny thing about it. It's like, who used the whole tone scale the first time to imply someone having a dream, right? Whoever did that first basically ruined it for everybody else. It's like, you're a whole tone scale now. You're like, oh, I'm having a dream. Oh, the character is having a dream. Right? Isn't that weird? Oh, the dogs are pestering you for a walk. Well, just bring your phone with you and you can watch me on the phone. Hey, Wendy again. Bruce, I'm sure behind. My screen just keeps circling and circling and circling. Oh, no. Well, I'm also doing it different than I normally do it. I'm not using, I haven't gotten a webcam. I got new setup here and new computer, new keyboard, new everything. And so I basically have to get a webcam. It's because I was using my iMac before and the iMac had a camera in it, but I'm not using my iMac here. So I have to, that's why I'm not using, I don't have any words up there or anything like that because I don't have OBS on my laptop and I can't even reach my laptop from here. I'm sitting so far from it. So yeah, the way I have to do this, hopefully by next Monday, I'll have a webcam. I'm a little leery of like the $30 ones, you know, but I'm sure the one that is in my iMac wasn't much better than the $30 ones. So I don't want to spend $300 on a webcam if I don't have to. So I'm kind of just looking at basic webcams. So, oh, hello, Tom. Question. I'm a new player. I just finished learning the major minor scales. I'm moving into modes now. Is there a trick to memorize and understanding theory? Well, yeah, I mean, you can, is there a trick? I would say probably the best way to, if you can do it, is if you have a cassette recorder, you can do this. I mean, I did this when I was a kid. Record some mode progressions. I have a whole series of mode jams. Okay, so you can go to my playlist, go to my channel, subscribe if you haven't. Go to my channel, go to my playlist, and pull up jam tracks. And there's a ton of them there. So you might have to sort through them. But I've done them for, I haven't done every mode in every key. That would be what, 7 modes in 12 keys. What's that, 84 videos? I haven't done that. And there really isn't, it doesn't take, I could do that. It really doesn't take much for me to do them. It's just a matter of changing the key of a pre-existing jam track like this thing. I mean, oh, hold on. So sorry. It's got the flat 7 in there. Let me put that 7 back where it belongs. Oh, no, not everything. What? That's weird. I'm highlighting one. There we go. And so a jam track, this way you can practice your mode. In this case, the A minor, the A Lydian. And start finding shapes that sound really cool in Lydian. You'll find that there's certain phrases and shapes that work best in each individual mode. And again, I spend a lot of time when I'm playing in Lydian. The one note that sets Lydian apart from major is that sharp 4. So you'll notice when I'm playing those lines. Oh, sorry. I just naturally want to sit on that D sharp because it's the note that is different. It's the note that's not the standard diatonic A major scale tone. So, okay. Yeah, they sound great. Thanks, Phil. I don't know about that. Let's see here. Hold on a second. And we got 32 people watching. That's pretty good. So what I'm going to try to do, we'll see. Gosh, I don't know. It's just every week just gets so full. I will try. I dropped a video on the Lydian scale. I will try to follow. I'll do a video on another scale this week, drop it, and then we'll talk about it next Monday and kind of spend some time on it. All right. And again, they're all going to be A-centric. We're going to start on an A note for all these scales just to have a commonality between them all. Okay. Those are called parallel scales. Like A minor and A major are parallel scales. A minor has A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, or I'm sorry, F, G, A. A major has A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. They all have A, B, C, D, E, F, G in them, but some of them have sharps or flats depending on what key you're in, okay? So that's called parallel scales. The letters all line up, just the letters. Relative is when they have the same key signature, like we've been talking about. A Lydian has the same key signature as E major. But again, I don't want you to, I'm trying to get you some, so you kind of think about A. Good morning, Scott. Oh, thank you, Holly. Sweet. So I can click on this. It took me away. I don't want to go away. So you may have to scroll down a ways. Oh, I have to watch an ad to do my own live stream. I switched the ads to non-skippable. In some ways, it's better because the non-skippable ads, I think, don't ever last longer than 6 seconds. Whereas the skippable ones, like you literally have to click on them. And so you can click on them after 6 seconds. But my understanding is that I don't make money on a non-skippable ad if you skip it. But if you let it run, it could go for 2 or 3. I've seen ads go on for half an hour. You can look down in the left-hand corner on the ad. It'll tell you how much time is left in the video. And you're like, a half hour, 30-minute ad. Can you imagine? It was like, okay, I quit. Oh, thanks, Phil. So yeah, so as you kind of go up and down the fretboard, and the information that you already have, if you already know all your E scales up and down the fretboard, is the same. I just don't want you to think of it as like when you're playing up here, going, okay, so E, playing an E major scale like that, and you're thinking root, because that's not the root. The root is A. You root 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it's not that. This is the 5. So it'd be 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6. You're much more likely to make it sound Lydian if you think A Lydian than if you think E major. I don't mind you doing the shortcut to kind of get your hand in that position and start learning it, but that's what the jam track's for. The jam track is designed to get you to Also, if you have an open string that works, it's always good to work in an open string. It allows you to get up the neck. Okay, so it's a trick that every guitar player uses to kind of get somewhere else. So that B note is totally good. B note's the second in the A Lydian scale. So as I'm playing up, I can pull off to that B note. Now I'm in a different position. I can use the E string to come down. I can even use the E note to kind of give you the E string to give you some rub with the D sharp. And the G string doesn't work and the D string doesn't work. You can obviously use the A string too. Okay. Oh, it is freezing over here. I see it. Why is it freezing? No, oh, I see. I accidentally hit spacebar. Okay. Go live. Okay, there we go. If I click on live, does it? All right. Let me do some. Woo! Now let's see. Oh, okay. I see it now. I guess I hit spacebar on, yeah. Oh, because I was trying to hit spacebar for this, for this, and I hit it on the video over here. I'm watching on the replay. So sorry. Is that cool, Phil? Does that help you? Just kidding. Yeah, but I love you. The open string thing is a great trick. It's not even a trick. It's a great melodic tool. It creates a pedal tone. All right. In this case, I'm creating a pedal tone because anytime you use an open string and you play on that string only, the open string is by law going to be the lowest note you hit. So it's technically a pedal tone. And if you want a great way to learn scales, you know, we always tend to learn scales kind of in this, in kind of positionally, where we go, okay, let's learn the scale in the fourth position, blah blah blah. Okay, but to learn the scale on every individual string, that's also insanely helpful because you also start to see patterns emerge. And again, not every string's an A string. So when you start on the B string, your lowest note is going to be the second. So you're starting on the second of the A Lydian scale. So if the jam track is, God, if it's 10 minutes, you could literally, if you want, go ahead and go all the way through the jam track. Okay. Go through the jam track. I should pull up some Lydian, see if I have a Lydian jam. Hold on a second. No, I have to go to my channel. Oh, look, I'm live. Content, jam. Okay, Lydian. I'll just type in Lydian. I'm sure I did an A Lydian, F Lydian, D Lydian, G Lydian, A Lydian. Here it is. Okay, so this is, and it's similar to what you're listening to now. Is like drums, a bass, and a pad. Now, I don't play guitar. It may be piano, but it's probably some kind of synth pad. And basically what's happening here is it's two chords, A and B over A. All right. So here is an A Lydian jam track. And so what you could do is you could literally just go over the jam track and play one string for the whole length of the jam track. Those sevenths, the seventh, the four, the sharp four, those are gonna be the money notes. It's very, very simple. Being a flashy guitar player takes a lot of work, but being a melodic guitar player just takes a good ear and ideas. And then if you're going to go ahead and learn it on a string, go all the way up as high as you can go. Work on stuff like that. It's hard for me not to go down a scale like that, but the idea is to learn. You're learning the scale so well you can play it on any individual string. And when you start running the numbers and go, oh, but there's 6 strings and there's 12 keys and there's 7 scale. Oh, that's a lot of work. Yeah, it gets easier as you do it. Now as you want to do A minor, it's like. In fact, if you wanted to, you could go from an A Lydian jam, work on the B string, Then go to the A major jam, which would probably, I think, is just going to be like D over A to E over A on the jam track thing, and then practice playing on the B string, just the A major. But yeah, you can practice playing in key of A on the B string, and then pull up A Phrygian. Now, well, A Phrygian, you wouldn't have a B in it, so you would have to start. So we'd have. I do have Phrygian jams. You could even do Locrian or whatever. So it's you wouldn't do necessarily B scales. The idea is you just like do all the scales on the B string, on the E string, on the G string, on the D string. And ultimately, yeah, and if you get it on the high E string, you don't need to do it on the low E string because you've already got it. So, oh, thank you. Yeah, I already talked about modes. Okay, never mind then. Let's end the video now. So again. So I'll do this. I'll do the G string. There's no G in the scale, so I can't play the open string. And this is a time where you, if you wanted to, you could bring in the other hand. Experiment with rhythms. Experiment with space. Okay, so that's some tips on, and again, it's all about getting that Lydian sound down. And then, like, I can take this real easy and go up a half step if I want. If I want to work on. Now I'm in B flat Lydian. Back down. And back down to A. Kind of fun. I mean, it's kind of fun to jam in any over any mode. It's kind of fun, and it's somewhat. I'm gonna have to tell you when I solo, when I'm talking about when I'm asked to solo in a scenario, it's half the time probably blues scales work best depending on what I'm asked to solo over. Other times it's modes, different modes. Is very rarely am I having to solo over changes. I may be in bluegrass, but no one's asking me to do bluegrass records. I mean, for a TV show or something like that, yeah, sure, I could do a bluegrass solo or whatever, and kind of sell it to the masses. But I'm not going to sell it to a bluegrass audience. They're going to know that I'm a fraud. Everyone in Hollywood lives in mortal fear of being found out for the complete frauds that they really are. Just so you know. I remember I was backstage somewhere, and I was talking about a drummer that I had used on a gig, and I wasn't. He wasn't very good. He wasn't good enough for the gig or whatever. Okay, and I said that to my friend backstage, and a different drummer's wife was backstage, and I think I said his name, and she was like, "Well, don't say that. You don't want him to lose work." And I'm like, I don't understand. He shouldn't be working. He's not going to work for me. So I don't understand. It's like, I'm not calling him again. I have a list of 40 drummers that I can call. He didn't do his homework. He wasn't on top of it. I gave him a chance, and it was, there may be a time in the future where I'm dire straits, I might call him, but it wasn't, whatever the gig was, it wasn't his thing. He may have a thing that he does really well, and that's definitely true. There's a lot of things I don't do on the guitar. I've gotten called for gigs that I wasn't qualified for, and I didn't get called back. And so that's how it works. So yeah, it wasn't idle gossip. It was completely based in fact. And I wasn't telling this person not to hire them. I was just saying, oh yeah, that drummer wasn't any good. and this different drummer's wife took offense to that. It's like, are people saying that about my husband? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe. Do you want to know what I think of your husband's drumming? I don't. So, you love me? Aw, infinity. Thank you. I can't get enough love. That's fine. Let's see. I'm sorry. Steve Vai. Yeah, I know. I definitely was kind of vibing Steve Vai there a little bit. Yeah, I like Steve. Steve's a super sweet guy. He's the nicest guy. He's married to his high school sweetheart. I mean, he is the sweetest guy. Just super nice and insanely brilliant. I mean, oh my gosh. He got the gig with Frank Zappa because he transcribed all of Frank's solos. And Frank had no idea what he was doing, like he's just shredding, right? And time-wise, like, okay, I understand eighth notes and triplet eighth notes and 16th notes and triplet 16th notes. But he was like, it's seven notes in a space of 5, or like these crazy bracketed rhythms on these high lick. And Steve Vai would figure it all out, by ear and write it out. And so I guess he had an audition or something. And Frank put some really complex music in front of him, and he sight read it. And I think he was like 19 or 20 or 21. He was like really young. And so that's why he started playing with Frank Zappa. And that's kind of was the beginning of his career. So I need to do more research on him, but super nice guy, just really, really nice guy. I met him years ago with Alex. Alex and I met him. He was playing with Zappa Plays Zappa, which is Dweezil's band. And the mom sued, so he can't use his father's name anymore, which is also his name. It's like he can't call it Zappa Plays Zappa. So he just goes out as Dweezil Zappa and plays his dad's music. So everybody knows that's happening. So Sheila, the sax player from our church, plays with him. Toured with him for 10 years. She's an amazing musician. She can play keys and sax at the same time. She sings and plays percussion with him. It was one of the rehearsals that she invited us to, that me and Alex went to, and we got to meet Dweezil, and we got to meet Steve Vai, and it was pretty amazing. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Yeah. You know, you want to think of sometimes for speed, to find positional scales is great for fast stuff. But, playing up and down the one string will help you learn your fretboard, which is the number one thing you need to work on, Coda Bami. The number one thing you want to work on as electric guitar player is you want to learn your fretboard. It's one of those things that once you learn it, you learn it. So you could go, now you don't have to learn that anymore. That's not one of those things that you kind of keep updating. Now for me, it's a little different because I'll pick up an instrument that isn't at all fretted or tuned like a guitar. So this is tuned G, D, G, D. It's called a ruan or a moon guitar. But if I'm reading on this, I have to, as quickly as I can, learn the fretboard, And so when I read, I don't necessarily read the notes on the paper. I read the distances between the notes. And that, for me, that's easier. So if I see a G and I see a third up, a minor third up, I go to B flat. So I don't necessarily need to know that's a B flat. I just need to know that's G. It's a built-in power chord there. You play a lot of heavy metal on this thing. But it's a cool instrument, though. Look at this headstock. Isn't it crazy? You see that? Crazy. A very heavy headstock. But yeah, so I'm constantly having to kind of, I have to be able to learn lots of different fretboards throughout the day. But my brain has kind of gotten used to doing that. And like I said, I don't necessarily read the notes as much as I read the intervals. So I'm looking for distances and less individual notes. I don't have to where's the F on this thing? It's like, no, I just need to go down a whole step from the G. I know where G is. Boom, go down a whole step, so on and so forth. One of the first things you can do if you get handed a sheet of music, and this is probably for nobody watching right now, so why am I even telling you this? But if you get handed a sheet of music, one of the first things you want to do is, if it's in the key of G and it's all G, there's no weird notes or anything like that, then just kind of play through some G scales, kind of find all those notes on your fretboard in open position or up the neck, whatever. And that way there are no surprises. When a note comes up, a G, a D, an F sharp, an E, a C, whatever, you'll be able to get to them because you've already run through them all. The other thing I always do is when I get a chart, and if it's got notes on it, if it's chords, it's different, but if it's got notes on it, it's going to be, you want to look at the lowest note and find that on your fretboard, and the highest note, find that on the fretboard, and see if there's a position on your neck where you can play both of those notes, the lowest and the highest note, or multiple positions. And then get your hand position there so that when you're sight reading, you don't have to take your eyes, you can play all in one position. You don't have to take your eyes off the music, and that can really save you. Where did I get that? I got that from, it's called a ruan. Also, AKA moon guitar. Okay. Oh, wow. You can play treble, bass, and alto clef. That's impressive. I got that on Etsy, I think. So Etsy and Reverb are my two main places I go to get the weird instruments. Yeah. So Etsy, I think that was like $400. I've used it on a couple games and a couple movies. I'm actually just there's a movie that I just did a bunch of ideas for. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But alto clef, is that a clef? What's C clef is the movable one. Is that what cellos read, or is that what violas read? I don't know. I'm not sure. Yes, fretboard. Yeah, exactly. On electric. Now, on acoustic, if you're primarily an acoustic player, obviously you're going to learn open chords and things like that. Where I feel like there's a deficit in ability, or I would say a deficit of diversity in among acoustic players, is their diversity of their right hand. Like they don't have a lot of groove options. And so what I would do with my acoustic students is I would, we might learn a song or a chord progression and then play it a lot of different ways. Once they get this down, they can start working the range, because the rhythm is really important in acoustic, because oftentimes when you're playing acoustic, you're by yourself. So you have to have good time. So you have to be consistent like a metronome. But you also have to have some interesting rhythms. I kind of came up with this concept when I was playing with backing up an artist who played acoustic guitar, and every song he wrote and brought in sounded the same, mainly because the groove he was using was the same on every song. And I was like, the band really struggled to kind of make each song sound unique. And so that was kind of where I came up with my concept, like, oh yeah, you need to find a different groove for and one of the best ways you can do that is to listen to a song and listen to the drummer and try to sound like the drummer. I always talk about, hey, you want to see me do a drum fill on the guitar? So if I'm doing like, I'm going to do a drum fill. Okay, now you thought I was going to go. No, I'm not that kind of guitar player. I can't do that kind of stuff. I don't really, that stuff doesn't impress me, and it's like, oh, you're a percussionist who wants to play guitar. I mean, it's amazing to watch how they get their hands in positions and get the sounds and the open tunings and everything. I see those and I'm like, wow, you've done a lot of work on that. And I'm just like, I watch a half of one of those videos and I'm like, okay, next. It doesn't interest me personally. There are people that go to shows and watch 10 players play that kind of, beating the heck out of the guitar kind of music and love it. And that's totally fine. Different strokes, right? Yeah, take a sip. It's a drinking game. If I change instruments, everybody has to take a sip. But yeah, so what I did by this, it's like bum bum da 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 da. I could do Pat Boone, Debbie Boone, bum cat. I'll do the Pat Boone, Debbie Boone. It's kind of, you just kind of change up the groove and think of it as kind of a lead into the next section. So that's how you do a drum fill on acoustic guitar. What's another one? Let's see. Bucket of fish. No, that's a joke. If somebody says a joke, you go bucket of fish. Pat Boone, Debbie Boone. I don't drum fills. I can't. There's a guitar one. It's called Look at Me, Look at Me, Look at Me Now. That's look at me, look at me, look at me now. Yeah. Look at me, look at me, look at me now. So let's see. If we were 20 years younger, it would be a shot. Yeah. Well, if we're 20 years older, it would be a shot of B12. Oh, wait. I don't have any nails right now. I have no thumbnail right now, so depressing. I have to play at a wedding in a couple weeks. I never play weddings. It's for a dear friend whose wife passed away like 3 years ago, and he's actually getting remarried to a lovely lady. And I was like, all right, for him, I will play for his wedding. But it's funny because it was like, oh, just play. I just want you to accompany me on a song. Okay. And that's way down in Dana Point, which is a couple hours away. And I'm like, okay. And then after I agreed to it, of course, then somebody else wants to sing a song and I'm accompanying them. And then now they want music, prelude music for the seating. So now I'm legitimately, instead of just accompanying my friend on one song for his wedding, I'm literally playing a wedding again. I swore I would never do another one. What's the main skill you need to get? Studio work, movies, video games. Probably the main skill you need to have there is, it's hard because, like, I would say people skills. I wouldn't say marketing skills, because it's like every composer in LA has a website but doesn't get them work. No director goes to their website and looks at their demos, everything. It's all about word of mouth, being referred to by someone. Everyone I'm working for, someone referred me to them, whether it was another composer or another guitar player. That's unlikely that a guitar player is going to refer another guitar player to a gig. They're going to say yes to every gig they get offered for the most part. I mean, I started work with Kook Harrell back in the 90s because Tommy Walker, who was a worship leader and a guitar player, very good guitar player. Kook asked Tommy if he would do a play on his record, and Tommy said, I really don't do session work. Call Tom Strahle, he'll do it. And so that was, Kook is how I ended up working with Justin Bieber and others. So but the people skill thing is less, because that's how it's relationships. It's getting along. Studio work for now is a very solitary profession. Like, I do all my work from home. Back in the day, it was a very people-centric kind of position. It's weird. So many jobs have changed that way, with the advent of the internet. So we've actually become far more isolated than we used to be. And then COVID didn't help. But and I'm a people person. I get my energy from being around people. I get tired in the middle of my day. If I was going to work every day and being around people, I wouldn't get tired in the middle of the day. I can tell you that already. People around me would get tired because I'm stealing their energy. I'm stealing your all energy. You guys are going to get tired later today because I stole all your energy. But the thing is Phil, when I came to town in LA, that I came to town in 1983, came to Los Angeles. And that's one of the things, going to a place where the work is definitely a plus, even though maybe ultimately one of the composers I work for, I think he only lived in Los Angeles for 3 years. And then he moved to North Carolina. I think he's been there for 15 years or 10 years. I don't know. But he came here and made enough connections. And then he went to, I'm not sure if he was from North Carolina or whatever. And he's a major game composer. So I'm not sure, and that's a different job. And getting those jobs is you're working with developers for movies, scoring movies. You're working with directors, so you need to know directors. Like, knowing a bunch of film composers doesn't do you any good. And then let's see. And then, what was I going to say? Sorry, my brain just shut off. I got a text from someone about work. But the people that hire me tend to be composers. At least in that, and record producers don't hire me as much as I get asked for guitar hooks from record producers. So that's a different thing. But as far as getting the session work, I came here in '83 to do it. And the gear that I showed up with to do the work, I had no idea that I didn't even have 1% of what I needed. In fact, if I had waited to move to LA, but until I had everything I needed, I probably would never have gotten to LA, or if I did, it would have been 10 years later. And by then everything would have changed. So it's a very different, business now than it was very, very different business now. You think about it, back in 82, 83, or even in the 70s, particularly in the 70s, there were 3 networks. And the TV shows all had live musicians on them. But then budgets get cut. But then right around the same time cable came along, all of a sudden now there's 500 cable channels and they all need music. So all those session players that were doing TV work in the 70s and into the 80s transitioned into being composers in the 90s and 2000s. And so most of my income comes from music I write for TV. And I don't work for a library. I refuse to do that because libraries are too big. So I only work with other composers that have needs for guitar music for productions that are pre-existing. So I'm writing music basically on request for the most part for production companies. So almost everything I write gets on TV, as opposed to if I send it to a library, they may have thousands of connections, but they also have millions of songs. So I could work my butt off for a year, compose 500 pieces of music and record them and make them beautiful, mix them like a record, send them to this company, and it'll get lost with 4 million other things. So the session work thing, I mean, I can think of 2 guys in LA that make a living, that are the 2 main guys. There's a lot of guys making a living here. But the 2 main guys, George Deere and Andrew Sinowak. George is older than me, and Andrew's way younger than me. And it just kind of happened. He just got pulled in. George pulled him in, and I guess and Andrew kills it. Andrew, that's one of the things I can read. I can sight read. I can do all that, and that's a good skill to have. That's a huge skill to have, Phil. But oh, you're an MI grad, and you left LA, yeah. The main skill, the reading, and then but I can read, but I prefer to do it here in my studio, so because I get sent stuff that's almost unplayable, but I make it work because I can punch in, I can retune. Oftentimes I'm retuning instruments like an oud, and I don't tune anything like a guitar. Like my oud is like Tommy Tedesco would retune everything. Everybody take a sip, but Tommy Tedesco would. I'm trying to do Lydian or Phrygian. I'm doing 5th mode of G minor, G harmonic minor. The thing about Middle Eastern music, there's 54 notes per octave notation, but their scales are not transposable. So you don't have to learn 12 versions of every one of their scales. They only have, the scale will be in D or G or A, and then they move it, then they do different scales. But usually when somebody asks me to play oud on something, they want something in the Western diatonic scale. And so, but I'll do some like crazy, if you want to check out something I did there where I played oud and lute, let's see. And it has, has the music. Hold on. Ah, here it is. All right. Okay, why can't I just get the... Okay, it's muted. Oh, here we go. All right. So this is something I did for the composer Austin Wintry. I work for him all the time. I just worked for him a couple of weeks ago. And this is for a game called Pathless. And I'm playing oud and oud and lute. I think are primarily what I'm playing on this cue. So check that out. And what that is it's the thing about like Austin's writing. He's a freaking brilliant composer. And it's so hard to read his stuff because it's almost like he's trying to lull me into a pattern, but he doesn't ever find, it's like he changes it every time. And so it's like you think you got it, and then you have to like, oh shoot, he's going to that note. Oh, that's out of the key. Nothing's tonal, everything's atonal. And so you can't depend on keys. You can't go through and okay, here's all my A Phrygian scales. Okay, I got them all up in that note. It's not going to be A Phrygian. It may be A Phrygian for 2 bars, but it's going somewhere else after that. He's a brilliant composer. And he's very well, he's awarded, won a lot of awards and everything. But yeah, composing is definitely, Phil, it's one of those things that you want to be doing anyway, because it gives you studio chops, composing chops. It gives you, software chops. You start to learn your softwares, the plugins, things like that. And it's a skill that you're going to need to pay the bills, composing. And if you get those opportunities, great. Now you may have to, at first, you might have to send some music to a library. What you can do, a little cheat here on the library thing is what you can do is like, let's say you're writing blues isn't a good example. But let's say it's kind of a blue, like a kind of an urban track with a blues guitar on the top or something, right? Some blues licks on top or something like that, right? Something simple. One of the tricks to composing is to make it too busy, because the type of gigs you're going to get as a composer are going to be underscore stuff for reality shows, which they have a voracious appetite for music. And so ultimately what you're going to do is you're going to send stems, which means you're going to send, a bass and drum mix. You're going to send a full mix. You're going to send a guitar only mix. You're going to send a full mix with no guitar, full mix, no keyboards, full mix, maybe no drums, so you may do, 5 or to 10 mixes that you send them to give them choice. Well, typically what they'll do is they'll put the full mix in for about 3 seconds, and then they'll edit it to the, into the drums and bass only mix, because there's dialogue, and anything that's up high on the keyboard or anything that's up high on the guitar, any percussion stuff that's up high is going to distract from from dialogue, and they're not going to be able to use it. So your music's going to get eliminated because they're going to go, oh yeah, we can't use that. It's too busy on top. So that's one trick. But the other thing is, if you are going to go for a library, what you can do is, let's say you've got 10 tracks of MIDI, and then you've got that one guitar on top, right? So what you do is you take those 10 tracks and you take all the melodic tracks and you move them up a whole step. Okay. So you were in the key of C, move everything up to the key of D. You say the tempo was 80, now put it at 85, and then redo the guitar on top. Just play different stuff on top and bounce that and send that to a different library company. Okay. That's called retitling. It's not really technically retitling. Retitling, they really look down on. That's where you send the same track with different titles to different libraries. Okay. The problem with that is that they are using a lot of times to create the cue sheets and to pay royalties for things, they're using Shazam type technology to hear, oh, that song is on this show. Okay, let's pay the royalties to this company. And then those get paid to you, or the BMI and comes to you and all the ASCAP or whatever. And what happens is that money can go to the wrong company because it's like, oh, shoot, that company registered it, but this other company that actually got the gig with the song in the show didn't register it as quickly or something, you know, and so the song's not, the money that they're for that song is not going to them. It's only going to the other company. It had nothing to do with the gig. So instead of retitling, what you do is you just, you know, you could do one session where you could literally do the same song 6 different ways, you know, 6 different keys, 6 different tempos, and with 6 different top guitar parts. If there's a melody on a keyboard, you might want to change that a little bit. If there's something really iconic about it, you might want to make a change on all 6 of them so that it's not identical. And then if you really, you know, then you can, you know, that way you can work for 3 or 4 different libraries. No library should say you're exclusive to them because they're not going to pay you enough. They're not going to make you enough money unless they give you money up front to write for them. No library is going to, you know, pay you enough to be exclusive. There are a few. I got offered a job at a library company, and it would have probably paid 6 figures. Maybe, you know, maybe not at first, maybe 80,000 or something like that, but eventually 6 figures. And but I was already making 6 figures working on my own, and they were actually trying to steal my work from this show that I was working on. And so they were trying to tell me nicely that, you know, you either work for us or we're going to take your work away from you, because I didn't take it from them. They weren't doing a very good job. And this company hired me to do music for them. This show hired me to do music for them. And because these guys weren't doing a good job, and they were mad about that. And I'm like, okay. Okay. So when Phil's asking, are you a contractor? So it's not a contract. So when it's called a work for hire. So it depends, Phil. I do both. So here's what happens. If for this production company I'm writing for, yeah, they keep the publishing. Not a bad thing. Okay. So if my song makes $1, 50 cents goes to the writer and 50 cents goes to publishing. Okay. We're talking about performance royalties. Okay. So when it actually airs, it generates $1. 50 cents goes to the publisher, 50 cents goes to the writer. Well, I'm co-writing, so I only get half of that 50 cents. So I get 25 cents. So the publisher, which is the production company, they get, that's called a work for hire. I get to keep the writers, and they get to, and technically they should be paying for that. A work for hire, they should pay $1 per track at least. Technically they're not. I don't care. I don't want $1 per track. It's been, I think me and my friend have written 1,500 tracks for this one company, and they produce dozens of shows. And so can't give you too much specifics, sorry. But they yeah, so they keep the publishing. And so you're like, well, that's not fair. They didn't write the song. It's totally fair. And they got the gig. They're doing the whole production. They're spending a lot of money to make these shows, and they have the context to get these shows on TV. The other thing that's totally fair about it is they have other music that they don't own the publishing on, that they're getting from libraries. Okay. So let's say I make $20,000 from this company, from the music I have from this company, which is probably pretty close to what I make from that one company every year. That means they're making $40,000 from my music, right? Because I'm making half of the writers, because I'm writing with another guy. So they're making twice what I'm making. So they're making $40,000. So this company is making 40 grand. Well, they have but for these other songs that they're putting on, they're making $0. So it's interesting because this company actually has a built into their computer system. They keep track of how many times you use a song on different shows. because I could have one song show up on 15 shows, and those 15 shows could air 100 times each. And so even though it's cable and pays pennies versus network, the shows air far more times than they would ever air on network. Network, they'll air once and that's it. And then they go into, maybe if you're lucky, they go into streaming, but streaming doesn't pay very much. But cable is better, I think. So I'm sure I'm losing a lot of you here, but the thing is, if they use like this company X that they don't get publishing from, the more they use, song, let's say the song's called Funky Blues, and they use Funky Blues 5 times, there's a little color thing. If it turns yellow, they're not allowed to use it anymore, because they don't want the same song showing up on all these shows. Like, they don't want the music to be the same. But songs that I write that are in their catalog, because they own the publishing on, it never turns yellow. So they can use my songs as much as they want, because they make money on my songs. So that's when I always say in my business, if powerful people are making money off of you, you'll be fine. Okay. So if you've got powerful people making a lot of money, if Scooter Braun is making a lot of money off of me, he's going to make sure that I have lots of work. So that's kind of what's going on, and so that's kind of some of the, when you're trying to be on the creative side of things, when you're trying to create music. Yeah. And that was, I was on the seat of my pants when I was playing that Cernos track. I was like, it was really hard. I was sweating. I was so glad I was here by myself, and like Austin wasn't here watching me play it. That's why I don't like going in the studio. It's like, it's much more nerve-wracking I meet people when I go into the studio. Like, every time I go into the studio and work, people are like, I make a lot of contacts and I get a lot more work from that, which is great. But the thing is, I love just working at my own pace. And some of the stuff that Austin writes is very, very complex. Some not so much though. And he always pays me by the job. So he just says, I'll pay you this much for the job. And sometimes that ends up being $50 an hour. And sometimes, if it's really hard, and sometimes it ends up being $200 an hour. So it just depends on how fast I work. But I never really cheat them. I always try to give them the best performances I can muster, even if it takes more time. So that's unique with Austin. When I work with Austin, it's definitely very job specific. Most other composers I charge by the hour. So yeah, Phil, no worries. But yeah, as far as getting the session work thing, what one of the things you could do is start to try to connect with young composers. I wouldn't say work for free. I wouldn't do that. Because they're never going to think of you as a paid musician. So you're never going to, if you work for free for somebody, composers do this all the time, and it's a mistake. Although I just told you I work for free for this production company, but they don't have a composer department. It's not like no composer's losing a gig from it. I'm getting paid because everything I write pretty much gets on air. So I'm making money from everything I write for them. So, and I have done gigs and sessions for people for free or next to nothing, but it's really hard to transition. One major composer that a contractor in town who never gives me work, but he recommended me for a free gig to play some classical guitar on a wedding piece that was this composer was working on. And I really wanted to work for this composer, and the contractor said it doesn't pay anything. And and I'm like, well, that's fine. I don't care. I want to work. I want to show him what I could do. So I played classical. I added some electric to it too, and then I played bass on it. He had synth bass on there, and I said, no, let me replace that bass. And he appreciated the extra work. And the composer paid me. He wouldn't let me work for free. I think he paid me $500 or something like that. And so I'm like, cool, But 3 years went by. I never got a call for that guy. And then I got then I started getting more, now I work for them all the time. So you just never know. But, I never let anybody work for me for free. I won't, if I'm hiring somebody, they get paid. It's just the way I can't do that. So, hey, Charlie, what's going on? I hope that's good info, Phil. And so you went to Musicians Institute here in Los Angeles, and you hated leaving LA. LA is so expensive to live. And you're teaching. I taught for 35 years. I taught private lessons for 35 years. I mean, a lot of guys say, oh, I want to do what you do. Well, are you willing to wait 25 years for it to happen? And most are like, no, I'm good. So I literally didn't start getting the work I came out here to do when I was 21. I didn't start getting it until I was in my late 40s. God bless my wife for sticking with me for 20 years until that happened. But it really started to take off right in the mid 2000s, like 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. 2008, it really started to take off. So yeah, I was 47 before it really started. And I still was teaching privately until I think 2011, I started doing the YouTube thing and stopped teaching privately. I still teach, like, sometimes I work for Disney doing coaching. So they'll send a kid over, or I'll have to go to the studio and teach, but I charge them a lot for that. And I've done that. I taught Charles Manson a guitar lesson, an actor playing Charles Manson. I gave him a couple lessons, and that was a lot of fun. I've taught, that kind of thing. Teaching, I'll do. It's more coaching. Usually, they want you to be able to teach someone to look like they can play guitar. But if they send me the track that they're supposed to pretend to play, it's almost always easy enough for them to play. And so. That is, so I think almost every time I've ever coached an actor, and again, I was hired to, all right. Thank you. I think almost every time I ever coached an actor to look like they could play, they ended up working hard enough and getting good enough so they could actually play it. So they didn't need to finger sync, pretend to play. So that's kind of fun. I like that. I've met some nice people that way. Some actors and stuff become friends with, a couple actors, things like that. So it's, that's, kind of what it is. So, so we don't want to go to an adult dating site. That's not what this is. I know I'm good looking, but no. All right. Don't forget about the Discord link. There's a lot of things up there if you go to my lesson PDFs and things like that, you can find all the PDFs and lesson diagrams that I create for all our how many ever lessons we've done for the lessons, the COVID lessons, basically. So, all right, I'm going to sign out. It's been a couple hours now, literally 2 hours. I'm coming up on 2 hours. So I need to actually, speaking of work, I need to get to work. But Phil, hopefully you subscribed and you can join us. I will do another mode lesson. I'll try to do a scale lesson this week. And then next Monday's lesson will be, let's go into more detail on that. So, and I'll try to make sure that I have a jam track. I mean, I could throw this jam track up. I've already got a jam track for A Lydian. So this would be but this is a different, this is like, what did I do? That's what it was. Something like that. Oh, here. It's just one chord all the way through. The other one I did was I think it was A and B. back and forth. So yeah, Phil, there's you can't have too many skills. I mean, the reason I play so many instruments is to give the composers I work for a options. And often once I get like 3 or 4 new instruments, I'll do a video introducing those instruments and send it just to my composers. You know, so a little bit of promotion. It's funny. I do that kind of stuff when I feel like things are slow, and that's less and less common. Someone just said, I spend 10% of my business time, my work time writing, and 90% of it getting work. The business side of things, and I get that. As you get more and more successful, you spend less time on the business because the work just shows up because of your reputation. So, John Williams doesn't have a website; he has a reputation. So, this is here. I'll give you an Amazon link. The keyboard is not making any sounds. That's all in Logic. The sound I'm using here is just some pad that comes with Logic. But yeah, the keyboard, you got to have, you've got to have that ability to be able, even if it's just to do, drums, or, you got the hi-hats and all that, or, you want to be able to do bass. A little F Lydian scale there for the bass. But let me show you. I'll pull up on Amazon, and if you happen to buy it through Amazon, then I get a commission. So yay! In fact, if you click on this link and do any shopping at Amazon, I get a piece of it. Yeah, I monetize everything, right? Let's see. So it's a complete contact. It's the 88, but any of these are great. Oh wow, I could have gotten it if I bought it from here. I could have gotten it cheaper. That's funny. Who's selling this? Oh, it's from Native Instruments. I could have actually gotten it $50 cheaper than Sweetwater. That's funny. I should complain about that. No, I'm not going to. Okay, let me get the link for it. Yeah, it's this. Oh. Okay. It's not cheap. But like I said, you don't need to get the 88 key one. It's weighted like a piano, which I don't like. The 88 key I had before, oh shoot, what was that? Dang it. Why is it doing it? Stop it. 88 key MIDI controller. Not really MIDI anymore. They're all USB. The one I got was M Audio. That's what it was. M Audio. Let's see. And that one's cheap. I like something like this. And I don't think, it's semi-weighted. I'm fine with some. I like the lighter touch. This is a heavy touch. I've already can feel like the carpal tunnel in my hands. But this one is definitely, I like having 88 keys because, Phil, there are times when, again, if any of you click on these links, you don't have to buy that thing. If anything you buy at Amazon, after you click that link, I get a percentage of. So if you want to do save it as a link for Christmas shopping, thank you. I have people that do that. They go to my Amazon link, and if you go to any of my videos and click on the Amazon link, or even the Sweetwater links, and do your shopping, it's great. It's great. So I mean, I typically make $5 to $10 a month from that. Just so you know, I'm pretty upfront about that. One time I got $300, and I went, "Whoa, what happened?" And I looked, and a church had bought an entire sound system or something like that. It was like, what? So they used my link to buy a bunch of stuff. Bye, Sadie. You're welcome, Rick. Is everybody gone? Oh, everybody's leaving because I said goodbye. Hilarious. But yeah, so But it is good, really good to have a keyboard so you can enter drums, or you can do that. It's always good to have some basic keyboard chops. I can play keyboards enough to kind of underscore at church if I have to. That whole thing. So again, you can't have too many skills. You never know, Phil. I mean, you may think you want to do this, but having no success at this, but then there's this like adjacent, maybe two careers over from session guitar player is this other thing. And you also like that because it's also music. You're doing music and whatever, but it's different than this. But it's this, but you have great success at it. It's so much more fun to have success at something, whether it's teaching or anything, but success at something than to have no success, no success at all in some job thing. It's like, it's much more fun to be busy than to not be busy. It's more fun to make money than to not make money. So my career has kind of moved around, through the years. I've been worship leader and guitar teacher, clinician, and, done all sorts of stuff, including jobs before I even came to California or got to California, like making jewelry and things like that. We've all had to do just regular jobs. But the ultimate goal is to get to that point where you're doing the one thing, playing music full time somehow, and in areas outside of LA, in Indianapolis, where I'm from, I was making enough money to live on my own if I wanted to. I stayed at home because I was saving money for California. But between teaching and my gigs, I was playing in a pretty good band that was getting a lot of work in Indianapolis. No session work at all. But between all those two things alone, I could have had a career that lasted my entire life in Indianapolis. It's a lot easier to have a career in a cheap area that's cheap to live. So, oh gosh, guys, really? How do I? Oh yeah, don't add as moderator report. There we go. Okay, I reported him, which should be good. Yeah, Charlie. Yeah, it happens. I totally get sidetracked and like thinking about something else. But my heart goes out to Phil, because Phil's very likely on the exact same path I took, right? So I'm like, I can give you advice. I can't give you too many specifics because I'm an insecure guitar player, like we all are, right? Phil, how many times have you gone to Guitar Center and you hear somebody that playing a lick that you've never played before, and you're like, oh my God, they're better than me. And you look and it's like a 13-year-old kid and you're like, I quit. And then you realize, oh, that's the only lick he knows how to play. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm good. I mean, it's just the way guitar players are just wired. They're just wired to be insecure. But I mean, I'm happy to give away. You can easily look up who I work with and stuff. And I'm sure you can friend them on Facebook and friend them on. There is a guy out there, I won't say who it is, that basically went through my entire friend list of all the composers and musicians that I work with. And he friended all of them, and kind of some of them he hounded to get work. And they got, some of them unfriended him because they were like, yeah, I mean, I don't care if he's a great guitar player. The guy's probably a better guitar player than me, but that has nothing to do with it. It's like, if you don't have the sounds, I mean, I get, seriously, every composer that hires me, every person that hires me for not for my guitar playing, but for my creativity. And that's something that's a snowflake. Everybody's different. A lot of us can do a Jimi Hendrix knockoff, or a lot of us can sound like Jimmy Page, or, whatever. But then to be able to create something that they've never heard before, that's a skill. So yeah. Yeah, Instagram is good. Yeah, you can go definitely that way too. You can, look up who to follow on Instagram. And there's also some composer but you cannot promote yourself on those composer pages on Facebook. They'll kick you off the page. So it's not about self-promotion. You have to contribute something. If somebody asks a question and you know the answer, that's great. I get shout outs by composers all the time. And that's oftentimes how I'll get more work. I know there are composers that hired me because of Austin. I know there are composers that hired me because of Stephen Barton. But I've got relationships with all these people, and they're valuable friends. I mean, they're good friends. And I'm more interested in having friends here in Hollywood. It's so hard to have friends in Hollywood because everybody is using everybody, or it feels that way sometimes. So I often will tell people, I've got a couple composers I won't work for. And I've told them because we connected on a spiritual and friend level. And I said, look, I don't want you to ever think that I'm calling you because I want work. I want you to think I'm calling you because I like you and let's like get coffee and go see a movie, like some weird arty film that our wives don't want to see, and that's more valuable. And has that led to work? I don't think so. And I'm glad, actually. If it led to work, I might like go, oh, I should take this guy out, or we should go see another movie because he recommended me. No, it's like, no, your most of your work's going to come from. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And exactly. And it's like, that's why, I never get too freaked out when you see this 12-year-old kid that can nail a Van Halen solo. It's like, yeah, but that's not being Van Halen. In fact, the crazy thing, talk about insecurity, Phil. Did you watch that interview with, what was it? Was it? Oh, no, it wasn't an interview. It was Tim Pierce when Eddie died, and Tim Pierce did a kind of a memorial video about Eddie and the time he met him or whatever. And he was walking down, it would have been Sunset, and he came by Gazzari's. Was it Gazzari's? What's the name of the rock club? And this was like in like late 70s, before Van Halen's record was out. He walks by, he hears him, and he goes into the club. And when Eddie would solo, he would turn his back on the audience because he knew that the audience was full of guitar players because he had gotten such a reputation in Hollywood. And I lived in Pasadena. So like when I was living in Pasadena for 35 years, everyone I knew, all the musicians of Pasadena all had Eddie Van Halen stories because Van Halen, they played at everybody's birthday party in the 70s in Pasadena. Like they were playing at house parties all the time, right? And so everybody's got Van Halen stories. But the thing is Eddie knew that if he turned around and they saw what he was doing with his hands and everything, that somebody would jump on it, release it before him because they were working on the record at the time. And I think they were actually working, probably at that time they may have been working with Gene Simmons, right? Because their first tracks, I think, were recorded, through Gene Simmons made it happen. And that is just, but it's not insecurity, really. He was protecting company secrets. Those were corporate secrets. And I'm so glad he did because Eddie, rewrote the book on rock guitar playing. And I'm not even a fan of his solos. I don't think the solos are particularly, I think the technique and all that stuff at the time was amazing. But then once you realize it's just a trick, it's like no big deal. Eddie's thing was his ability to play great rhythm parts. His pocket was mind-blowingly good, and he had a drummer for a brother. So, I mean, there's a certain thing that will never, ever be replicated. I mean, how many guitar players tried to be the next Van Halen and it just, nothing ever happened with them? Oh, gosh. We are just being harassed. Report. I should report it as child abuse. Oh, Bruce, you deleted the wrong message. Did I unblock your? There we go. Sorry, Phil. You got hidden on this accidentally. Bruce, you were too quick. So that's Eddie protected it, and when it came out, it was groundbreaking, for sure. Yeah, Love Chat gives hearts a bad name. Exactly. Broken Heart is more like it. At John Gilligan, post some on Discord and your own stuff. Oh yeah, somebody has some music they want to share. Oh yeah. Oh, you write tunes and wish you could get someone to play them. Well, I mean, there's probably I know there's forums like that where you can songwriter forums. I'm not sure if you're talking about song instrumental or vocal songs. There are places in Vegas, in Vegas, in Nashville, that will actually record your songs, but they charge you money, and it's just a mill, and it's just a scam for the most part. But they'll send you a song, and they're just you pay, I don't know, you pay them $500 and they have professional musicians play your song. But what they're doing is they'll do 12 of those an hour. They'll do one every 5 minutes. So they're going to literally spend 5 minutes on your song. I don't know what kind of song you're talking about, but yeah. Oh, this troll shows up. Okay, that's good to know. I figured that was the case. It's just a robot, a bot thing. So okay, so I am gonna for sure take off now, and because I'm gonna get to work. I've got different things I got to do today, and so I got to try to do. I need to do a video. I got to pick one of the remaining 11. I don't have enough fingers. 11 scales. I've done one so far of those 12 scales video that I did. So I'll do that. Hopefully I'll get to that this week, and editing and creating the diagrams. That's what takes so much time. So the filming it, not so much, as long as I do a decent one. Oh, no worries, Rudy. Hopefully it was helpful. Lyrics, music, mostly blues. Okay. Yeah. Okay, John, I'm gonna tell you, so for songwriters, here's what I often tell them. This is just like just a little bit of homework, okay? And you can learn. This is probably the most important thing you can learn about this, okay? Who do you think, come up with 5 artists, all right, that you think would be great to sing your song, like your dream 5 artists, that are alive. Okay, not Stevie Ray Vaughan, okay, but like somebody who's alive that okay, I wrote this song with this person in mind, but this person would be great, or this person, any of these would be amazing, right? Okay, like Chris Stapleton, let's say Chris Stapleton. Okay, then what you do is you go look up those 5 people, go to their Wikipedia page, go to their discography, click on every one of those records, and see if Chris Stapleton, and I don't know Chris Stapleton's catalog, but look at his first record, and then click on the track listing and look at the track listing. Does it say every song was written by Chris Stapleton only? Go to the next record. Every song, Chris Stapleton only. Or even if it's this collab and he's on every single song, the collaborations, he's on every single song. Boom, do that with all his records. You're wasting your time. That you don't ever even try to get that song to Chris Stapleton, because he's not going to do it, because he only does his songs. It's like I work for Marco Antonio Solis, who's one of the top 3 Mexican artists of all time. He literally writes 100% of 100% of his songs. Everything. He's never, maybe he's collaborated a few times, but very, very rarely. Like, I'm a songwriter, and I thought, I should get, my friend Pablo was the producer. I said, I should get him a guitar hook to write over it. And he goes, he won't do it. He will only write over stuff. And that's part of the reason why he's so rich, because he owns everything. So go through that list of 5. If none of them do other people's music, then you're either wasting your time. Obviously, you're going to waste your time. You don't want to waste your time with those people. But also, you might not be writing the kind of genre that you're going to be able to find people to cover it, okay? Now, if you just want someone to record it so you have a recording of it, that's different. Then you are probably going to have to pay someone to do it, pay a singer, pay a producer, go into a studio, have musicians play it. That's different. And that's cool. And you can have a product afterwards. You go, look, I wrote this song, and you play for people, and everybody's like, oh, that's cool. And you can even release it. If you're the owner of it, you wrote it and you paid for the production. You might have to get people that played on it to sign off. You're going to have to create a work for hire contract for everybody that you're paying, so that they can't make a claim later when you release it and make $1 billion on it. But it depends on what you want to do with it. But if it's just it's called a vanity project. If you just want it for you, now, maybe you can post it on YouTube. You can post it on all the streamers, for $39 or whatever. You can go to CD Baby and release a song, and it'll be on all the streamers forever. You can totally do that. But if it's a genre like blues, most of the blues artists out there pretty much are probably, a lot of them are writing their own material. So it might not be. So yeah, Bonnie Raitt. Yeah, she does covers. She definitely does covers. So you never know. She's still doing records. So you might want to try to find out who Bonnie Raitt's people are. I don't know. I think my friend Michael Jensen is still her PR guy, but the PR guy is not who you go to. And getting her to hear a song, that's really tough. I will tell you, here's another thing, and I've said this before. If you're pitching a song to a producer, just make it guitar and voice or piano and voice. Don't produce it at all, because no producer is going to like your production. No producer likes anybody else's production but their own. Okay. I mean, that's not, you know what I mean? If you're pitching it to an artist, artists oftentimes don't have the vision to see the final product. So that's when you send them a produced out track. Like if you send them a guitar and a vocal, kind of a rough of the song, they're not going to catch the vision, the potential for the song, because they're an artist, they're not a producer. So when you pitch to an artist, then you kind of want to get in their hands a fully produced track. So my point is, if you're pitching to Bonnie Raitt's producer, give him a vocal guitar takedown. If you're pitching to Bonnie Raitt, then you give her a full mix, like a full band thing. And you could do both. You can totally, in the same session, you can do two mixes. One mix of the full band and everything, and another mix you mute everything but the guitar and the voice, and then you have a basic breakdown. Or you do another take where the acoustic guitar or something like this. You have acoustic guitar and voice, and you do a bounce of that. So this is gold, is it? Okay. Zach Brown. Yeah, Zach Brown's great. Again, look up Zach Brown and see, does he do covers? Because some artists are really smart and they do, they only do their own material. And so you're wasting your time writing a song for them. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be realistic here. But that's common sense stuff. Do I have, what's this? Oh, that's part of the shirt. I thought I had like cat fur on my shirt. Gross. So yeah. So again, sticking around, Charlie, is a good thing. Right? You're getting the comedy gold now. Yeah. John, I totally, my heart bleeds for you as well as Phil. Because you guys are both, in that same thing. And I'm not hugely successful. I don't have any hits. Alex and I have a dollar bet to see who's going to get the first number one. It's funny because we both wrote on the same song last week. And I'm like, oh, I hope that one goes number one, because then we can both win the bet. But Alex and I have rarely worked on a song, but it was a song he was producing for an artist. And he said he wanted me to add some stuff, just like add guitar or something. He wanted me to kind of get my take on it. And so I added okay, how about this and how about that? And I did I did like 5 different things. And then I texted him the next day. I said, so did you use any of it? And he goes, I used all 5 of them. He used everything I did. He put them all in the song in different places. I was like, oh gosh, hilarious. So yeah, money's in the writing. I mean, money's in producing, artist development. Producers usually get a piece of the song. So yeah, there's money all over the place. If you're an artist, you're making money. If you're a record company, you're making money. There's more money being made now than there has been in the last 10 years. I heard once that 1 million spins on Spotify generates $7,000. Now, it's hard to get to 1 million spins. I have a couple songs. If you look up my name on Spotify, I have 2 songs up. One called Question Mark, which is a gypsy jazz thing, and one called Emma Louise. This goes back to the earlier question about work for hire versus contracting. I've uploaded those. Those are songs that I wrote and recorded that I have a passion for. These songs I love. Fingerstyle stuff that I wrote it for Emma. I'm not going to throw that into a library where I only get half of the writers. Okay. No, I put them up I uploaded them. Now, if anybody wants to use them, they have to pay for them, and I get to keep my writers and publishing. And that's different than a work. That's a song placement's different. And you'll get paid like $500, $1,000, whatever for placement. Plus you get to keep the back end, which is writers and publishers. They don't own the publishing. If it's released, they can't ask for the publishing because it's already published. Right. So, but obviously if they can't make money on the publishing and they need a song then they won't take the song. So it's basically, it's a little thing that it's a vanity project for me, writing and performing my own songs. I don't make a lot of money, but if you go to my Spotify, you can go ahead and I appreciate if you put Emma Louise is one of them, fingerstyle thing, and question mark is the other one, and you can they're both pleasant songs to listen to. You can throw them in a couple different playlists so that they pop up every now and then. Be great. But $7,000 for $1 million, 2,000 goes to the writers and publishers. Okay. So if you write and publish the song, then you get 1 million spins, you should get about a couple thousand from that. 5,000 goes to the label to be split between the label, or I should say not the master owner, the label, but they also have to pay mechanical to the writer. So I get mechanicals because I've got one song that's got like 100 million spins on Spotify, and it's you get mechanicals from the 5,000, and you get performance royalties from the 2,000. But they also pay producers out of that, and they pay the artist out of that, and so that kind of thing. Gosh, we're just getting hammered. All right. Oh, you beat me to it. All right, thanks, Bruce. I'm reporting them, actually. I'm reporting them as pornography. So that's that. All right. So I started streaming 60 minutes ago. No, it's not 60 minutes ago. All right. So I'm going to end the stream right now, but thank you for watching. There's a lot of stuff in here. I mean, I probably need to retitle this, How to Make a Living, because I have videos on that. So you can check those out. Phil, if you're still on, John, if you're still on, go to my playlist. That's The Business of Making Music. I want to do more of those videos. They're hugely unpopular. Some of them are saying, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do this. I try to be really honest and give you the secrets of some of the business stuff. And so we can talk about that another time. Okay. Okay. I'm leaning forward. I'm hitting the end stream. Bye. God bless you.